Hi, Zach. What was the thought process behind the Logan Wilson pick?
Yeah, he's a guy we had highly rated. Um, our defensive staff has certainly been holding their breath all day because we got to know this kid at the Senior Bowl. He really impressed us, playing on the other team there, but certainly stood out, impressed us. We got to know him, followed him over the next 4 months, and really just felt like he was a great fit, again, for all the things that we've been talking about in this building. But he's a three-down player. He's physical. He can run. He's got the right mentality. We're just excited to add him to that side of the ball.
Did you not expect him to be there in the third round?
Well, you just never know. You never know how these guys are going to, these inside stack backers, these outside linebackers, how they're all going to shake out. And, certainly holding our breath there those last couple picks. But ultimately, he was there at 65, so we grabbed him and very fired up about it.
Multi-year captain. I know that's something you guys look for. I mean, how much did that part of it weigh into your evaluation of him?
I think over the last 2 years, you've seen us add a lot of captains, guys that were well thought of at their school. This guy's played a lot of football now and played it at a high level. His teammates and his coaches obviously think very highly of him. So we're just fired up to get him.
He's 23 years old as well. So, Zach's got some maturity to him. This kid's got some maturity to him. And I noticed, down at the Senior Bowl, he was all business. I mean, he was early to meetings and, he was down there for a reason. He was making a business trip, wasn't he?
There's no doubt about it. He's had the right mentality every step of the way. And I know that's one of the things that Al Golden loves about him, as he's gotten to know him over this process, and Lou and all those guys on the defense side of the ball. So, again, really excited about the pick.
Zach, did you think you had to come out of at least today with a linebacker, or even if it was early tomorrow, at least somebody you could plug and play maybe right away or close to it?
That was certainly, again, we wanted to find the right value. There's some great players that were there. But we felt like he certainly fit. Like I said, it was all about T. Higgins at 33. It was all about Logan Wilson right here at 65. So we certainly identified a linebacker as a position of need, someone that we needed to add at some point. If the right person wasn't there, then we were comfortable taking another position if we needed to. But fortunately, Logan was there, and we jumped all over it, and it worked out well for us.
He was a 195-pound wide receiver, defensive back type player in high school. Now he's, 245, 250, whatever.
Right.
How do you think playing those positions in high school, translated and really helped him at the linebacker position?
Yeah, I mean, he can run. He's done a lot of things. So you like the guys that have done some other things and then they move over and play their final position. He was in a passing conference, man. So this guy's had to drop back in coverage and be able to cover guys in space, and then be able to go tackle in space. And there's some pretty good space players in our division right now, as you all will know. So you need a linebacker like this.
Zach, we've seen some of the linebackers that have won in this draft so far kind of have that hybrid ability to play the run and the pass well. Is that becoming a necessity in today's game where you've got to be able to be multiple in what you can do in that position?
Well, you like to find a guy that can play all three downs for you. And sometimes as you get later in the draft, those guys aren't available. But Logan is a guy that fits that profile. We identified him as a three-down player right from the get-go. And so expect him to be able to play multiple roles for us in that regard that you're mentioning. So, of course you want him. There's not a ton of guys that can always do that, but you're always looking for those guys that can be just as good defending the run as they do the pass. And Logan is one of those guys that we feel good about.
He's a stack inside linebacker, but can you put him on the edge? Has he got position versatility where you can put him on the edge in a pinch?
We see him a little bit more as a stack backer, just playing inside.
Right.
Zach, you guys passed on an offensive tackle again. I think a lot of people thought that you might go that direction. What was about? I mean, did you give that a hard look at all? I mean, is that something that you just said, even at 65, that's not a position we want?
Well, again, this guy was the top player on our board for a while now. And so as every pick ticks off and he remains there right at the top of your board, at that point, it doesn't matter so much what the other positions were that you liked, because here's an area of need that we identified. Here's a player that we've targeted from the get-go as today started. And so when he stays there on the board all the way to 65, you take him, and it was an easy conversation at that point. There was no conversation at that point. It was how quickly can I make the phone call? We knew we were taking. And so again, it's more so to do with Logan Wilson than it is the other positions.
So is he more of a mid-second round guy than a third round guy?
We certainly felt that he could have gone much higher than what he did.
Zach, how big an
Position is still-
advantage
Go
is
ahead, Gary.
your experience with the Senior Bowl, especially considering we haven't had a chance to look at players one-on-one much, not too many pro days. How much has that helped you, having had this experience with the Senior Bowl and picking a guy like this who you got to work with?
Yeah, it helps with a guy like Logan Wilson, because really what you walk away at the Senior Bowl with is guys you really like, no-brainer character, work ethic, intangibles, because you got a chance to spend time with them. Even though we didn't coach him, you were around them enough. You watched all their practices right after they happened. We got to interview those guys because we swapped the Lions. So you can start to hold some players and really, hey, this is an A-list. We love this guy. He's a Bengal. We need him to be a Bengal. And then there's guys that you could eject right off. Hey, they don't have the work ethic. They've proven that to us. We can throw them out. And then there's some guys that fit in the middle that you need to do a ton more research on. But Logan was certainly one of those guys that we put in that top tier right away and said, this guy, as long as the tape from his college days fits what we've seen so far here at the Senior Bowl and from the interviews, then this is a guy that we can target and go after.
With the interviews, that's one aspect of it. But then if you don't have him in the classroom, he's on the opposite team. You don't have him in the classroom. You don't see how he maybe absorbs and all that sort of thing. Do the coaches exchange information, or is that kind of taboo at the Senior Bowl?
You like not to, because it's if there's a guy that you love and
right.
maybe the other team doesn't get to spend a lot of time with them, you hate to share that. So
right.
We do our best to protect that information.
So you figured that based on his football intelligence and at the meetings and conversations that you had, that you figured he was a good learner and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, well, I guess I should go back. You do get a chance to swap with those guys on the Friday before the game. And so, again, we got to spend more time with the North team than say the Seahawks or the 49ers or the teams that weren't there,
Right.
And so we got a chance to spend a lot of time with them as a coaching staff. And he's one of the guys we walked away from saying, let's make sure the tape matches what we feel this week, but he's a guy that can really help us.
Right.
When you guys do that swap, obviously you yourself can't sit in on all of the interviews. Was Logan one that you were involved with?
You know what? No, because it was, as a matter of fact, it was tricky with the timing. So our coaches kind of had to catch him right as the time was concluding. So I didn't get to spend with him time there. He couldn't get with everybody, but those guys walked away. That was a very meaningful interview to them. And, we all sat down the Monday after the game and took notes on every single player so that we didn't forget it. And he was one of the guys that really stuck out that we had high regard for.
I didn't see pretty thin at that position.
Go ahead, Jay. Sorry.
Yeah, you're still pretty thin at that position. Do you still view linebacker as a position of need going into
tomorrow? Yeah, it's an option for us. Again, we're looking for value. We've signed Josh Bynes in free agency, so we feel like we've added players there that are going to help us and takes the stress off of that need to an extent. And so we're now, in the 4th, 5th, 6th round. If the right players that are in a position that we got value for, we feel comfortable taking them.
Coach, how do you see him fitting in from a leadership standpoint, and what do you think he adds to you there? And the other question, if I can follow up, is he's really, for 3-down players at backer, he's it. It seems like.
That's how we wrote him up, And when you're a captain, you've played that many football games. I can't say that I've got to know him too well, and so you got to go off of what the coaches have told us there at Wyoming and what our own coaches have learned of him through their conversations. But when a guy's a captain as many times as he is and has played as many football games as he has at a high level, you got a pretty good sense that you're adding the right type of leader to your building.
Would you say that he's your only 3-down backer right now?
I wouldn't go that far. We'll get a chance to watch these guys compete and see how it shakes out for us.
Based on this pick, is it worthwhile coaching in the Senior Bowl just to uncover a guy like this and get extra time with him?
Yeah, if you got a guy that you're willing to stand on the table for, and it all started there in January,
right.
Absolutely. That process was worthwhile. And again, we got how many? 4 more rounds to go? My
right.
math is terrible. So we'll just see how it all shakes out.
Zach, do you think y'all are done for the day?
I feel like anything I say is about to be twisted right now. So we'll sit back and enjoy and see what happens.
I mean, do you want to move back up? I mean, is that? I mean, how aggressive is that?
I don't think we ever want to take any of our options off the table. And so again, we got the first pick of the 4th round. We'll spend time talking through it. But again, we'll sit around and see what happens.
Coach, the way it unfolded for you after the bottom of the first round, the fact that you could come out of the thing with that highly rated a receiver and linebacker, could you have envisioned that last night when you went to bed?
Best case scenario. Truthfully, I think this was the best case scenario. As we came into today, if you said that we were going to go get a receiver and a linebacker that we had at the top of our board, we're going to get both of them, I would have thought you were crazy. I would have thought you probably had to trade back and then trade up. And for the way that it happened for us today, just standing firm at 33 and 65, it's surprising that it worked out for us, but nonetheless, we're thrilled.
Was there any nervousness when like Gay gets selected just like a couple of picks before? I mean, for them to go there, and I mean, at that point in time, was everybody thinking, well, because I mean, Gay, he can line up inside. He did line up inside snaps to Mississippi State, but I mean, obviously, you felt strongly about him. You felt strongly about where you had him evaluated and ranked. But were there any qualms when some of these linebackers started to get selected?
Well, Seattle was right in front of us, and they've already taken a linebacker, so they got a pretty good crew there. So
right.
We were very hopeful that they were going to stand firm and not take a linebacker. When they traded to Carolina, it was very iffy for us. Kansas City, we thought that there was a chance they'd take a linebacker. We didn't know who it would be.
Right.
Again, we were waiting for Logan, and so to see another one come off the board was exciting for us. Again, you guys should sit in my little room with me, and feel the excitement as the 5 minutes are counting down and you're waiting to see who's going to pick. It's just me and Wilson hanging out in here, so I don't get to enjoy it with anybody else. But it's some pretty tense moments there.
Zach, you said that these guys are on the top of your board. Is that in the slot that you anticipated, or was Higgins your number one wide receiver and Logan your number one linebacker, regardless of draft slot?
Yeah, I don't want to go too in detail with the actual draft slots we had him in, but again, we felt like T. Higgins was a first-round pick, and so for him to be at 33 was really exciting for us, and we think he's going to fit what we do really well. Logan Wilson, again, we walked out. If you walked into the first day of the draft and said, hey, somehow, some way, we're going to end up with Logan Wilson on our team, you don't really care where you take him because you're playing on that guy coming in and playing a big role for you. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what round you got him in. We're just thrilled that we were able to add Joe, T, and Logan. I mean, to us, this is as good as it could have gone up to this point.
Zach,
did you talk about Logan in the second?
Really good about where.
Sorry, James, I'm listening to you.
Sorry. You said that you felt really good last round about how much talent was still on the board. Is that still the feeling right now? Is that there could be some high picks, highly rated picks in that 4th round tomorrow?
Yeah, there's no question. There's going to be some guys that we have higher than 4th round grades on. I'm certain of it, the way it's shaking out right now. So I'm sure I've already missed. I can't wait to get caught up here when this thing ends. That's usually my favorite part, is to run through real quick and see what 5 picks I missed. But I'm sure that there's going to be some really good value for us there at the top of the 4th round, and excited to see who's available.
With Logan not playing linebacker until he even got to college, how far back do you go in watching his film to kind of see development, or do you just look at senior year and see what he is now?
Yeah, there's plenty to watch from this year and last year. I can't speak for our defensive coaches how far back they went. Again, we got a lot of prospects that we watch and didn't get that specific with the conversations. But these guys have certainly done a thorough evaluation of watching every single piece of tape they can get their hands on. And this is a position that Al Golden, Mark Duffner, those guys did a ton of work on every linebacker in this draft. Our scouting department, Duke, and all those guys. I mean, this was a great job by everyone in the building to rank these linebackers and identify them. And again, we think that we got one that we're really excited about.
Was there more emphasis of adding to your defense when you see like a team like Baltimore drafting another running back?
No, we don't let that affect us right now. Certainly you got to be thinking throughout this process of what it takes to win in this division. There's no question about that. That does factor into a lot of things, but we certainly do not react to what's happening over this 3-day period with those other teams.
Was Logan in consideration at 33, Coach? I mean, was when you were thinking, okay, T at receiver, Logan, if there's a linebacker, Logan's our guy. I mean, was he and other guys maybe in the mix? May have been 4 or 5 guys you were contemplating on your board at that time. Was he in the mix at that time?
You know, like I said, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day where they got picked. If we had taken him at 33, we would have all been very happy about it. And so at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it was second, third, or fourth round. They all got to come in and prove themselves. But again, we identified a guy that we think can come in and compete for us and do a great job.
Zac, this is kind of a broad question, but how much better do you feel about this team on and off the field, and just about you personally going through the draft process as a head coach again a year later? And how much better do you just feel? Is it night and day from a year ago?
I think that's fair to say. You know, you just you do your best to research the players and watch all the tape of your current roster. But until you get your hands on them, you spend a whole year with them, you go through adversity with them. It's impossible to have the same sense then that you do now of what you need, what guys do best, how to utilize them, and what pieces of the puzzle we need to add. And so, again, the people that have been in the building previously that stayed here have done a great job of communicating all that to us. But at some point, it's just a matter of, you know, we got 20 new coaches that weren't a part of it that got to sort it out for themselves. And so certainly since this season ended, we've all been on the same page about how we need to attack this offseason. And so far, we've been really excited about it.
How did he play in the Senior Bowl? When you guys evaluated that tape of that football game, were you satisfied with what you saw in the actual Senior Bowl contest?
Yeah, you know, there are times in the Senior Bowl you try not to overreact to what you see, right, just because things are pretty regulated and simple, especially as you watch tackles and defensive. I mean, there's no games, there's no twins, there's nothing, you know. And so same with the linebacker, it's a little bit generic. There's no pressures. You're only playing 2 coverages. So again, you're looking for the traits. You get a chance to see that guy up close and in person, what their reaction skills are, how quickly they can retain a playbook, you know, that information over the course of the week, which we didn't get to do with Logan, but you got to ask questions about what he was learning. But again, that's just one of the tools of the process that you utilize. Again, you go back and you reference the game tape from the course of their season. That's number one. Right. And then you get a chance to interview the guys and get a sense for their personality and their football IQ. That's number 2. And then you use all the tools, the all-star games, the combine, the pro days. Those are, again, just reference tools that you try to check those boxes. And but again, you try not to overreact to any of them.
Is it more?
Zac, you've already hit a triple, 3 for 3. How tempted are you to? There's other guys sliding that are high on the board that you could fill another linebacker. You could add another big, massive offensive lineman. How tempting is it to go for the home run and move up and not have to wait for round 4?
That's one way to look at it. Or you can stay firm like we have, and the guys have fallen to us that we've been excited about. So again, I guess you guys are just gonna have to stay up all night and see what happens. I see you, Ben. You'll be up all night.
Coach, does this kind of show too? You know, you've been talking about your offensive line, how you guys have kind of built it for the last year. Does this maybe show that, you know, you got confidence in what you got there?
Again, we have confidence in the guys that are in this building, but there's been 2 players today that have been there for us that we feel like help our team in other ways. And so, again, we are counting those offensive linemen that are here to continue to improve. Some of the guys are getting healthy, and again, the second year in a scheme is certainly going to do wonders for a lot of guys as well. A lot of those young guys, particularly. So, but there's no question we have to make improvement there. You know, we're not going to hide from that.
Just a couple more questions, please.
Zac, was there any dialogue in terms of you know, moving back? I mean, second round, first pick of the second round, first pick of the third round, first pick of every round. Do you anticipate, you know, getting calls from teams to see what kind of taking each other's temperatures on making a move?
I'd say it's very similar to identifying who we were going to take with the first pick of the draft. You know, we didn't rush the decision. You got time, you might as well use it. You don't have to hurry up and make a decision by noon today, you know. So, but ultimately, we started the day with, hey, T. Higgins would be an unbelievable pick at 33, and we ended the day with that. And so that's something we were all on board for. And but again, even if you know that the guy's the pick, you still want to not rush the decision and make sure you take on all the information. but ultimately we made that pick. I apologize for interrupting his press conference. I called him a second time just to kind of talk through it with him. And then I said, have you done your press conference yet? He said, yeah, I'm right in the middle of it right now. I said, okay, I appreciate you taking my phone call, but you could have waited and called me back. So sorry about that. That one was on me.
Zac, just because you said I'm staying up all night, I'm going to take that as confirmation. You are moving back in the third round. Thank you for that. Appreciate you.
Take it, tweet it, whatever you want to do. But I didn't say anything.
Zac,
how was Wilson? Was Wilson steady
in the conversation?
So was Wilson steady? And I'm talking about the IT guy. How was he?
Oh,
the IT
yeah,
guy.
Wilson. Yeah,
yeah, he's solid, right?
My right hand man right now.
Yeah,
so
he's solid, right?
Yep, he's done a great job. I keep asking him to decorate this wall behind me, but he refuses to do it. I keep getting hammered over it.
It's kind of fitting, and that was the name of the guy that you wanted to get.
Yeah, well, he's been all night. He's been telling me we need to pick him, and so finally I listened to him, and we got him.
Okay, if that's it, Zac, we'll let you go.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Zac.
Thanks, Coach.